Welcome to the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, where you get multifamily investing made real. Learn from top players in the real estate investment world as they share their secrets with you and discover proven strategies on apartment investing that actually work. To learn more about Wheelbarrow Profits, visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. Now to your hosts, Jake and Gino.
Hello, everybody. This is Jake Stenziano, host of the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, here with my co-host, the multifamily madman, Mr. Gino Barbaro. Gino, how's it going?
I'm doing good, Jake. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Tonight we have a very special podcast titled Patience, Persistence, and Hitting the Target. This is going to be a culmination of a deal that Gino and I have just got a signed contract on. And
Jake really downplays it from the standpoint of it being a culmination, because a culmination, it's been 6 months. It's been a long deal. Like Jake said, it's 156 units. I'll let you guys know what the property mix is. It's 1 and 2 bedroom garden and townhomes. I would consider this a nice B property. A little bit of deferred maintenance. I think the big problem with the property was there were perception issues on the property. And if you've heard any of our other podcasts, we would consider this your atypical, not a really typical mom and pop property. There were some problems on the property as far as the owners. They were having issues with the partnership, so that was a perceived value for us. It made motivated sellers. We're going to go through the whole timeline on this, guys. We're going to show you what patience and persistence really means. You need to have patience and persistence in life to hit your targets. But what does that mean to hit your targets? I mean, how are you supposed to hit a target if you don't know what to focus on? Guys, when you're trying to hit a target, you have to look at what you want to focus on. What you focus on is truly going to expand. So if you're always thinking negative thoughts, you're going to have a negative day. You start thinking positive thoughts, positive things start happening to you. I always ask people a question. Guys, what do you want? What do you want out of life? And the first thing that most people tell me is what they don't want. And it's funny. Your subconscious works on what you don't want. It's really amazing how that works. Start focusing on what you do want, and then they'll start attracting that. So when me and Jake started our business, what we wanted was to create passive income and to just create wealth. That's what we wanted. We wanted to generate that passive income. We didn't focus on negative cash flow. We focused on positive cash flow. So we know what we wanted. Real easy to hit that target. Now we're going to get into the patience and persistence.
And I just want to say one thing about that, because we did not ever steer off the road. We did not ever say, okay, now we're going to do flips. Now we're going to do single-family residence. From the beginning, it was so crystal clear. Our objective is to build wealth through multifamily investing, and we never got off that path. We focused on it. It took us 2 years to really get into it, but we nailed it. And it took some time, but we nailed it over time, and it was because we had that clear, crystal clear focus, multifamily investing and building wealth, and we finally got there.
And what was amazing about the whole thing was, like Jake said, we picked a niche. Our niche was multifamilies. We niched it down even more, which is what I want you guys to do out there. Whatever you're doing, if you're doing, fix and flip, what kind of fix and flips are you doing? You're staying in the $100,000 range, $200,000 range, wherever you are. Be patient with it, be persistent with it, but really nail that target down. And I want you to own what you guys are doing. Once you own it, once you really establish a niche and you become an expert in it, then you have the, authority in that market to expand. Me and Jake are so comfortable with multifamilies right now. Our portfolio has grown from 0 units to we're going to hit almost 700 units in 3 years. It's taken us 3 years. I mean, for some people that might be, wow, that's just amazing. And some people are like, hey, that's a great strategy, great target that you guys have hit, but it's not the amount of units. It's just the fact that we've been patient and we've been persistent through this whole ordeal.
And I just want to say, and I want to say too to the listeners, I'm not saying anything bad about fix and flips. I'm not saying anything bad about investing in single family. All I'm saying is, if you're going to go down that road with a clear focus and knock it out of the park. That was the key to what I was saying there.
And knock it out of the park. And then once you feel comfortable, I wanted to follow up with that. Then you can go on to another niche. Once Jake and I are really, truly comfortable with this, I don't think we'll ever be truly comfortable because there's so much to learn.
I just want more. I'm never leaving.
You'll never get that comfortableness. I mean, you'll always be learning and learning. But once you think you've mastered it, and let's say you get bored, move on to another strategy. Then you can say, okay, I've mastered this. Let me move on to another strategy, and continue your education. Jake, why don't you start talking about this deal that we started back in August?
Well, I think it goes back prior to August. When did we first meet the broker on this one? When you guys were visiting, was that August? That was before August.
No, that was. I had flown out to Knoxville in June. We were doing the due diligence on the 281 unit property that we had acquired in August.
That's
so
right.
In June we came out, and I had negotiation with this broker. I had started building rapport with the broker. Even 6 months before that, I just had a great relationship with him. I liked him. His firm did a lot of the stuff that we do, which is really important. Find brokers who are doing your kind of stuff, my kind of stuff, meaning that they sold large multifamily deals. We showed him our credibility book. He liked what we were doing. He saw our strategy. And when this deal came on, this was a call to action kind of deal. We're going to get into that a little bit later. So he knew what we were looking for. He knew we had the ability to buy this property. He knew we had the credibility, and he actually brought this deal to us. It was an off-market deal, which was really cool. I met him in June. He said, "Hey, I might have something for you guys."
Remember what he showed us in June, though, Gino? Because going back to June, he showed us a 10-unit property. It was Gino, myself, and our other partner, and we were running hard for, I think, 2 or 3 days, going to our current properties, looking at new stuff. And this was right before you guys flew out. We met this broker at Starbucks, and he had something. He was showing us a little 10-unit property. We were entertaining. It was nice, but it wasn't anything that we got really that serious about. So this goes back. I mean, even the relationship with this broker, I mean, to this point is well over 12 months.
And what I liked about it was I don't think he got insulted. I don't think he got offended to the fact that I love little properties. I know Jake's like the kind of guy, he likes to buy these huge properties. It's true. I fall in love with property. That's my number one mistake. You fall in love with the properties because of the numbers. I mean, this 10-unit property was fantastic until I heard what she wanted to sell it for. And I told him, I said, this is not something that we're buying. We're really interested in. And to his credit, he said, "You know what, guys, I respect that." And he was having problems with the seller. He knew the seller was she was a little demanding. Her numbers were a little too high. And he had faith in us. He had confidence in us, and he brought us this next deal.
Yeah, and so we met with him there at the Starbucks. We stayed in contact with him, and then he called us up and said, "Guys, I have a nice off-market deal. I'm going to have you come and take a look at it." So I remember I went out. I actually took our cost segregation consultant with me because he's a really bright guy, and I just wanted to get his input on it. So we went out, and that was in August, right, Gino? When I toured the property with the cost seg guy.
And let me just throw another tidbit in there.
Sure.
I was dying to go to this deal because Jake forgets. I don't know how he forgets. He brought Jim Clayton to the deal.
Oh, that's right.
Sure, Jim Clayton. If any of you guys are out there know Jim Clayton and Clayton Homes, I'd like Jake to talk a minute about him. What an awesome guy he is. They were supposed to fly out in a helicopter. I'm like, dude, really? You're going on a helicopter? I mean, I want to get a little play of that.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
and it was funny. How can you forget about that? I mean, it was a little cloudy out there, so they didn't get the helicopter action. But you know what? To bring a guy like Jim Clayton out there, we just met him. He had financed our deal, that we're doing we're looking at this property, gave us so much credibility because the guys out in Nashville, these brokers knew Jim Clayton. I mean, who doesn't know Jim Clayton down in Tennessee? It was just, for me, it's just a fantastic experience. I mean, I wish I was there. I wish I would have been in the car with these guys, but I'd like Jake to talk about that because that must have been really cool.
Yeah, sure. So Jim Clayton actually sold Clayton Homes to Warren Buffett. That was his baby. They did manufactured housing, and after the sale, he started Clayton Bank and Trust. And we were fortunate to work with Mr. Clayton on another deal that we financed. It was 149 units, and he was basically signing off on that deal. And we were driving around. It was myself, Mr. Clayton, and the broker looking at a deal that we were closing on. And I said, "Hey, there's something else in the pipeline." And we actually were thinking about taking his helicopter out because he's big into flying and things like that. And we're going to actually fly over and get a look at the property from the top to make sure the roofs were all in good shape. And realistically, I just wanted to go up in his helicopter because I was I was a little starstruck because like Gino said, he is definitely the predominant business figure in the Knoxville community. So that was the first part. That was our first a touch point of just kind of visiting the property before we actually did the inspection.
So that starts in June. Let's fast forward to August. I start talking to him in August. It's in the middle of summer here. It's hot. I'm looking outside from my bedroom out into the pool, and I'm talking to him, and he presents the deal to me, and I'm excited. I'm like, wow, we have a good shot at this. We're closing on the other property. I don't know how it's going to be a little tight with money, but you always find, when you find a deal, you find the money somehow. He presented it to us. We ran our numbers, and we just started talking about it. I just, started talking about it with Jake and our other partner, and we're just going over the numbers. It was a little, unusual for us because, like I said, they did a call to action. They wanted highest and best. They wanted to close on the deal by the end of the year. That's what one of the partners wanted, which I said, okay, you're August, September. You're going to be a little tight. I said, if you don't get this stuff going, you guys are going to have problems closing. And, little did I know that I was being, what's the word? When you're looking forward, you just...
Overly optimistic?
Yeah, these guys wanted to close in 3 or 4 months. And, it's doable, but, to get the calls to action, to get all the stuff to the sellers.
Let's talk a little bit about the call to action, so folks out there that maybe not be familiar with that. And basically, they're asking for a call to offers. This was an off-market deal, and basically they were just saying, give us your final and best number. They're letting everybody compete, and they were going to pretty much go with the highest offer. So as that was coming in, we were not able to get any price guidance, a little bit from the brokers, but we really didn't know where we stood as we were touring the property and doing our our walkthrough inspections.
So September 2015, the next month we come up with the bid. We bid $44,500 per unit. Never forget that number, because I'm like, this has got to be the number. It's a great number. I think it's good for us. We have enough equity built into the property. And it's a fair number. I mean, that's what the property was generating at the time. Their expenses were really very extremely high. We knew that we can get these expenses cut down a lot. They had a manager on the property. They were paying them a lot of money. I think that's part of the problem why one of the sellers wanted to sell one of the partners, because he saw that the expenses were extremely high. They had a perception on the property, so their income was down a little bit. They had a fire previously a year ago, but that wasn't the issue. They had some problem with some structures that they were taking care of. So fast forward to October. I'm in Florida, October 2015. This is a month later, and I'm going back and forth. And what's great about having a partner like Jake is he's a pit bull, and I'm a mini pit bull. So he's whatever. On the phone. He's on the phone all the time. I'm on the phone. So we're, going back to the broker, making sure that, we're staying in touch. And, we'll call 2-3 times a week, just like Jake said, just to have that touch point, just to make sure that you're staying in touch and keep the communication open, seeing what's going on. I'm on the beach in October. I'll never forget it. I never have my cell phone with me on the beach. And he calls. I see it. I'm like, oh, great. Let me pick up the phone. And he said, guys, Gino, I'm sorry. They went with the higher offer. I'm like, Jake, I got crushed. Gave Jake a call. But I just had in the back of my mind, I said, you know what, a deal like this, it just didn't feel right to me. I said it took him almost 60 days to come up with, basically an answer to a deal. So I said, that's why I didn't think it was going to close to begin with. But I was just optimistic that we still had a chance. Even though they accept something else, contracts are signed, still stuff happens once you sign a contract to when you go to closing.
Yeah, and here's another thing that we were bringing to the table. We're known as closers. When we get into a deal, if everything checks out, we get the deal done. We get it done quick, and that's what we may have not been able to bring the highest price to the table, but I look at us as a slam dunk, and that's what we communicated to the broker, and that's very important when you guys are dealing with brokers. Let them know if you're a closer. Let them know, because that's going to make a difference sometimes, because some people will dilly-dally around, and when they ask for something, we get it back to them right away. When something needs to be signed, we sign it right away. We get it done, and we get it done quick. That's important on these deals because they do take an extremely long time.
Do what you say and say what you do.
That's right.
That's why I think that $44,500 number was great, because we're not known as retraders. You do not want to be known as a retrader. You get buy the property, you put a bid in, and all you're going to do is just get that bid in and get the contract signed, and then go back to the seller and say, listen, I want this off, that off, that off. You don't want to be known as that. We're not that type of buyer. I don't want you guys to be that type of buyer, because it just ruins your credibility. And like Jake said, you're not going to close. If brokers know you're doing that, you're taking food off the table for them, and sellers don't want to deal with buyers like that, because they know that number is not going to be, it's not going to be a fair number. They know the number is going to happen. And
when you're wasting everyone's time.
What happened with this deal was we find out that that's what the first sellers did. They put a higher number than we did, which is great, but they ended up retrading. other issues in the property that that we don't really know what happened, but I know that was one of the major reasons why they backed out from the first buyers. From October, from when I heard that we had lost a deal, I still kept in touch. I still told Jake, let's keep in touch with him because he's got other deals in the pipeline. I just want to tell him thanks for giving us the opportunity to bid on the property. And if something happens, just keep us in touch. Now, let me fast forward to November. I got these dates ingrained into my mind. November 24th was a Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I'm sitting in the library doing some research, writing a blog. Never forget, I get a phone call. I'm upstairs, can't pick up the phone. It's Dennis. I'm like, wow, it's the broker. I'm like, let me get the phone. I got the phone. People are looking at me like, what's this guy doing answering the phone? I just, said, Dennis, what's up? Let me go outside. Ran outside. And he said to me, deal hasn't really closed yet. They're going past their due diligence time next week. I said, well, you know what? Have a great Thanksgiving. Keep me posted. Let me know. Got a call the Monday after.
Hold on. You called me after that though, and I'm usually Mr. Positive. But I'm saying whatever, not happening, right?
That's right. That's right. I was just when I got that phone call, I'm like, brokers typically don't work that week. That Thanksgiving week is a tough time to get everybody on the phone, whether it's a banker. Jake, remember the time every time we got to close during Thanksgiving or during Christmas, it's just like not happening. Nightmare. You lose that whole entire week. So I saw that as a sign. I'm like, there's got to be something going on. And that patience and that persistence, just persisting. So he calls me back on Monday, and I'm like, Jake, they didn't close. So he said, guys, put in the offer. And, Jake, what did you end up wanting to do? I mean, it was great what I thought.
Well, I just still couldn't believe it, though, because we stuck with this thing from, so long ago. And we were there. And when it actually came, and I still didn't really believe it when Gino called me and said they're not closing. I mean, this was huge. He called me and said, "Look, they went past their due diligence period. The sellers pulled it. They're moving on." And I don't know. I was floored by it. I mean, I know these things happen, but as long as we stayed with this deal and as persistent as we were to get to this point, it just floored me. But still, we had an obstacle because we still were. There was still another group involved. And we were ahead of us. Yeah, and they were still ahead of us. But from the beginning, we said, we're the sure thing, we're the slam dunk, we're closers. So we got a little price guidance from the broker and said, you guys may not have to come up much, but I think they need to see a little bit more out of you. So, Gino, how much did we raise the offer? About another $100,000?
$100,000. But let me backtrack real quick on what I thought was awesome about this whole thing. I don't think Jake and I were ready to buy the property in August or September, only because we had just done the closing on a 281-year property. Yep. And, I mean, the property was great. The numbers on that property, I remember the first month we had acquired the property, we were doing $140,000 a month. And Jake and the team down there, the first month we did $170,000. I mean, it was just amazing. A $30,000 positive for the first month you take over a property. So we were sort of overwhelmed, inundated, like, oh, I can't believe we're taking over property. We're looking at another one. But I mean, it just worked out. It was great. So we didn't close on this property. We didn't get this deal done. It was, I think, a blessing in disguise that it went out a little bit farther for us.
I agree.
I mean, that was like when I saw that, I'm like, okay, maybe we're not ready to buy in August or September, but maybe a little bit later on. And that's what ended up happening. So in December, that week, after Thanksgiving, we upped the offer, $100,000. And what was weird about it is the second group were sort of dragging their feet. Mm-hmm. So from the beginning of December till December 20th, I remember this, the sellers are just frustrated because the deal has not been signed. The buyers are dragging their feet. What are they supposed to do? So I was still positive. It was during Christmas time. I'm working in my other business, really busy. Jake's running his thing. He's really busy with the property. We get a call December 28th, is right after Christmas, right before New Year's, saying that, the broker's saying, guys, I think they want to send the contract over to you. And I just called Jake up. I was floored, really. That's no other way to say it. I mean, so much emotion, so much, work goes into something like this. And when you get that call saying, I think they're going to go with you, after two other people they've lost in front of you, it's like, wow, that's just amazing.
Yeah, and then it was so December 30th, and no one was moving quick at any point, and all of a sudden, boom, December 30th, the contract shows up. I'm like, what?
That's right, and when they move quick, you move quick. So
yeah.
December 30th was a Wednesday. I'll never forget it. I'm like, Jake, let's get this contract. Let's sign it. Let's look at it.
I was at your house that day, right?
Yeah.
And then we got on the horn with our other partner and the attorney that day and knocked that thing out, basically.
Yeah, because I mean, like when you've got a viable, seller and he wants to sell, it's impingent upon you to get the thing done. I mean, you can't drag your feet. We wanted to show them that we wanted to get this thing done. So the time frame for that was December 31st. That Thursday, we got it back to the broker.
With our revisions, right?
Yeah, there's a couple of revisions. So basically, I mean, the time frame from December 30th to January 12th. Couple of revisions, couple of minor changes, nothing major really. I mean, I think the contract is actually pretty fair. I think the sellers had a great contract. We changed a couple little things, and 12 days later we signed it, and we have a signed contract from the sellers, and we're ready to go.
But hang on, though. There was a little bit more. It went to the bitter end on this one because we were waiting. We signed, and we were waiting, and we thought we were going to get it back, and then it went to the next day. And we were waiting, and it went past lunch, and I was going to set up the new LLC, and still nothing back. Literally 5 minutes before I was going into the CPAs to get the new LLC going, I got the contract. So it was like to the bitter end. This thing was just dragging us out, but we got it. We got the thing locked up, and we're moving on to inspections and the rest of our due diligence.
So this is where the fun starts. I mean, we haven't even started with the fun yet. So can you imagine how exhausting this whole process is? That's why a lot of people out there, they fail because they just quit before they even start. I mean, you've got to make a lot of mistakes. You've got to be really patient. You have to be really persistent, really know what you want. And then once you get it, you have to follow through on it. So we're still in the very preliminary stages of this whole thing. God knows we might not even close on the property. We might find something wrong with it. We might have to go back to them. We're not at that point yet. But I think just categorizing this whole deal from August till now will give the listeners out there an idea of how difficult this can be. I mean, it is not easy, but it can get done. You can do it.
And that's why Gino likes to say, being patient, persistent, but willing to walk away. Because look, we were getting some guidance from the broker saying, look, our first offer was not high enough, right? And that's the art of the deal. We were patient, we were persistent, but we said, okay, this is the price we feel comfortable with, and because we didn't know, we could have been bidding against ourselves because it was a blind call to offers. So we did exactly that. We were patient, we were persistent with it. We put in the offer that we thought was fair, that we thought was going to get it done. It didn't. We were okay with it. But then guess what? The group ahead of us was, they overshot and they didn't feel comfortable with it, and therefore it came back to us. So.
And what's weird about the whole thing is, in our market, there's not that many deals of this size or this nature and this positive. So, I mean, for us to be able to want to walk away from it, it was a bitter pill to swallow. For us losing the deal in September and October, I remembered I was really upset because I'm like, man, there's not many 156 unit properties in our market that come up that we can really manage and, we can add value to, that are B properties. So for us to be able to walk away from it, it's just a lesson for everybody out there. If it's just not meant to be and you're going to overpay, I mean, my mantra is it's not what you buy, it's what you pay for it. So you can buy a beautiful B property. We can pay $55,000 per unit. It doesn't make a difference. You're not buying it right. You're not going to make money in the deal. So you have to be willing to walk away from the deal.
Totally. So here's the thing. We just wanted to demonstrate how much it takes to get into these deals and how much work there is and how much time it takes. So when you guys are growing your business, you see, okay, don't get discouraged, hang in there, because a lot of times it does work out. But if you give up and you quit, you don't have a shot. So you got to stick with it. You got to hang in there because it does take a long time, and you got to be persistent with these guys, and you got to be there showing up every day. So that's why we wanted to outline this for everybody to see what really goes into these larger deals.
And we're going to have a follow-up call within the next month just to highlight our due diligence period. We're going to talk about the inspection on this property. We're going to talk about our numbers on this property. We're going to talk about the financing on this property, how we had the financing already lined up in August, ready to go, which was really good for us because we knew that this property was going to cash flow and do really well for us. So within the next 30 to 60 days, we've got 60 days on this to do our due diligence and close. So that's more than enough time. And we have plenty of time for the financing. We've already got that lined up. So, we're going to do that follow-up call and really just lay out all the steps on how to close a big deal like this.
So, Gino, thanks for the call tonight, and we'll talk to the listeners soon.
Jake, I had a great time tonight. I'll speak to you soon, okay?
Take care.
Thanks.
We trust that you enjoy the Wheelbarrow Profits podcast. Visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. See you next time when Jake and Gino share more of their investing secrets with you.